All right, I'm going to call us to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you. We have 4 board members present this evening. Diana is unable to join us tonight. And thank you, students, for being here. And special shout out for Casey, who is not here because she is at state for wrestling. They left, just today. So looking forward to seeing how Casey does at state. We need to adopt the meeting agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda this evening?
So moved.
Thank you, Meredith. Is there a second? Thank you, Jack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. So we have a few presentations this evening. We're going to start with Dr. Bruner kicking us off for a recognition of the Citizens for Anacortes Schools group that are here this evening. So I think if you're one of the citizens for the group, you can come on up to the front.
There was an ex-investment banker who wrote a book called Schools Cannot Do It Alone. And it had to do with him recounting his journey from a very negative anti-school, you need to do it the way businesses do it, to someone who was a big school supporter. And I have read that book 2 or 3 times, and it rang true then, and it really rings true now. And this is a perfect example of that. I am just so pleased this evening to be able to recognize citizens of Anacortes schools who were the engine, the community engine in helping pass this levy election, both levies, on February 10th. And they were a group that wanted to stay behind the scenes as opposed, except that they wrote some letters to the editor. But beyond that, their work was often done in Dave Harris's home, and the work that they did was just amazing. And Dave, I really am glad that I have the opportunity, we all are, to thank you for the work that you and your group did on behalf of the levy campaign. We're not able to do the work that you did because what we can do is stick to the facts. And you can go beyond that. And so we just really appreciate your commitment to Anacortes schools and are so grateful that you are here tonight. So we have some recognition certificates that I wish I could say they were gold-plated, but they are not. And I will go ahead and read your name out, and if you would come forward for your certificate, that would be great. We'll start with Dave Harris. Hey, thanks so much.
Let's do this, Navy style.
There we go. And then we have Jenny Beltramini. Oh. Jenny, thank you. Absolutely. And we have also Elliot Johnson, who was on the committee but was unable to make it this evening. Josette Curtis, who was also a very instrumental part of the meeting, of the group, but was unable to make it to tonight's meeting. Christy Fisher. Christy, thank you so much for all that you did. And we have Angela Hurst, also part of the group, who was unable to make it this evening. And Brady Turnage. And we will make sure that we get these certificates to them. Helen Worthington. Thank you, Helen. Jack Curtis. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Stephanie Hunt is not able to make it with us this evening. Do we have two there? Chrissy Limerick. I also don't see Chrissy. Romney Kerr. Bucky Morris is not able to be here. Maggie Thompson. And let's see who else we have here. Monica Harris was not able to make it either. Would you like to? Do I need to shake your hand again? Okay. And last but certainly not least, Nicole Tesh. There we go. Thank you again. Would you like to? Who am I missing?
We added Andrew Fisher, our student representative, kind of midway through. He was the one that did all the videos.
Great. Come on up here, Andrew. I don't have a certificate for you, but I will certainly shake your hand. Thanks so much.
Dr. Brunner,
Appreciate it.
if I may,
Certainly.
two things to add real quick. I just wanted to add that Laura Maroney was part of our committee, and she was huge, bringing a lot of her experience from previous levy campaigns. So I really want to make sure we recognize Laura Maroney.
Oh, Lauren, come here. I am so sorry.
And Dr. Brunner, if I could add one more thing, I apologize.
Absolutely.
To really put a fine point on what these levies pay for, having Andrew Fisher participate and be able to use his experience gained through media production classes that the levy pays for, and being able to give him a practical and real world outlet to be able to use those skills and that love of creation that he's got through that levy, it really just comes around full circle to show what those things pay for and how they manifest.
Great point. Andrew, your mom is extraordinarily proud of you, by the way. And I know that you know that, but know that we know that too. So thank you.
I'm going to also just do an additional shout out for Dave Harris, because as the chair of the committee, he put in more time than probably anybody else on the committee. And we appreciate your leadership, Dave. And maybe someday, Dr. Brunner, you'll be reading a book that Dave wrote on leadership because it is a passion of his. And this was a great opportunity for you, Dave, to just sort of shine, and just appreciate you stepping up to the plate and putting in the time and effort and commitment that it took to lead the committee. So thank you for that. Alrighty, our next presentation is a superintendent search update. Christine McDuffie, and I believe on behalf of Christine and John, is going to give a quick update for you all.
Good evening. Congratulations on the passage of your levy. Such an important celebration tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a brief update about the superintendent search process. We are entering phase 3 of 4 phases, and wanted to just do a quick reminder where we've been the last few months. We started with our first phase, which was the engagement phase, met with 112 individuals, and 237 folks replied to the survey, which was wonderful, and that resulted in the leadership profile report, which became a really important document as candidates considered whether to apply or not. Then phase 2 was going on simultaneously, which was all about recruitment. The position did close on February 6th. There were 21 applicants, and it's an incredibly strong pool, which says a lot about this community. So we have moved into phase 3 of 4 as of this afternoon. And the board had an opportunity to review all completed applications, and they have chosen to advance 5 candidates to semifinalist round, and they will be interviewed confidentially on Monday with the board. By Tuesday, finalists will be announced and invited to the community on March 3, 4, and 5. So staff, students, families, and the community are invited to participate on those days. So please watch for further details about those opportunities to get involved again and to provide your voice in this really important process. So thank you. This is an amazing community, and it's an honor to work with all of you. Any questions?
Questions? Nope, we're just looking forward to this next few weeks. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, we will go ahead and have our school presentation this evening, and it is Fidalgo Elementary and Dr. Dowd and some guests.
Good. Worked. I am really pleased and proud. Ezra, do you want? You can just come stand. I won't make you talk. I promise. Pleased and proud to and excited to share a new program that was organized by our parent here, Zach Pullman. We have been trying, called Fidalgo Dads, for a number of years to try to get more dads volunteering on a regular basis at school. And maybe some of you have heard of a national program called Watchdogs. I never loved that name, but I love the concept. It was like, even if you can just donate one day at school as a dad, let's get you into the building. But we wanted to kind of, I think, make it a little bit more specific to Fidalgo. But it never really took. Different PTA leaders have tried, or we've talked about it, or a few dads have shown up. But Zach here kind of took it under his wing, and now it's taking off. So Zach, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about it.
Great, thanks. As mentioned, we started Fidalgo Dads at Fidalgo in December, and Fidalgo Dads is based on a national program. We have our own local slant to it. The goal is to bring fathers and father-like figures into the school in order to increase safety, increase confidence, and build connection within the school. So locally, we kind of have been based around 3 tenets, the first of which is demonstrating through presence that education is important. The second is facilitating connection and positive interaction between our positive male role models and our students. And then finally, we're there to provide an extra set of eyes and ears during busy school periods. So as mentioned, we kind of have set it up with 2 volunteer periods each day during the school week. And those volunteer periods are based or anchored around lunch and recess. So dads can come in and they can volunteer They can spend recess with the kids. They can go outside or spend lunch with the kids and go outside during recess and play, and then spend some additional time in the classroom interacting with the students and the teachers. So far we have a small but core group of guys, of dads and father-like figures that have volunteered on a relatively routine basis. And we acknowledge that everybody doesn't have time to come in during the week, during the middle of the day and help out. So as we're moving forward, we're looking at ways of incorporating those folks into the program as well, and giving them an opportunity to be a positive male role model just outside of that normal school day. I think the feedback so far is good, whether that's from the staff or the students or the dads. One area that's been especially impactful so far is just giving dads an opportunity to come to school during the school day and experience and help them understand the challenges that the teachers experience, that the students may experience, and also just have them be there for the hundreds of positive things, the positive interactions, the little positive moments that happen during the school day that you don't necessarily hear about as a parent at home over the dinner table when you ask your kid what happened and the answer is nothing. So I will summarize, or I'll close with two things. First off, I don't deserve the credit for this. This program is only successful due to the support of the staff, the support of the PTA, and the support of the dads that take time out of their busy schedules to help the students. And then finally, Fidalgo dads, we're looking to play the long game. Our core group of dads right now isn't huge, but we're really convinced that if we're persistent about showing up, that the group of guys will increase, and that we will continue to build the relationship with the students, and especially those students that don't otherwise have that positive male role model at home, which is ultimately what the program's all about. That's all I have.
I've got a few more things, so don't go away. So I just wanted to mention one cool thing they're doing next week is you're hosting a gathering at the Union for just dads, just to get together like the ladies do sometimes, And I'm sure while they're there, they're going to be promoting this volunteer opportunity. I have some quotes from kids that I'd like to share. These are kids whose parents have volunteered, and I counted about 15, which I think is a pretty solid number because we only started this in December. And the deal is you can come once during the school year, or we have some dads like Zach that comes several times a month. So we have the whole gamut. So one student said, I like it because my dad gets to know me better. He eats lunch with us and he sees my school side and my friends. I love that, my school side. At recess, kids used to argue about kickball, but he helped us with the rules, and now we just have fun. Ezra, I'm going to quote you. I hope I get it right. You can let me know if I don't, but the gist was, I like it that other kids get to meet my dad. He enjoys it too, because he gets to see everyone, and now he knows a lot of kids by name, and they know him. Kids like my dad. Someone said he is their favorite volunteer. Another student talked about his father, who is a firefighter in California. And I said, what, California? He says, yeah. He did the Malibu, wildfires last year. And apparently he's kind of high up on that. And so he's out of the state a lot. And he says, but when he is home, he's home all day, but then I'm at school. So this way he can come to school and spend time with me. And then a final quote is, a student said, my dad is very good at conversation. When he eats lunch with us, he asks my friends what they like to do. Even kids who I sometimes don't get along with will tell me, your dad is so cool. And that helps us get along better together. So I really do think there's this reciprocal benefit of this, the kids being so proud of their dads there. And then kids that don't have a male role model at home getting to have one at school. And then dads getting an insight into what their child's school day is about. And then, of course, the huge benefit to paraeducators, to me, and to teachers. So I'm just so excited and proud of this program and looking forward to seeing it continue to grow. Any questions or?
Questions?
I just want to say, I feel like we've, just like you said, the watchdogs, we've seen it all the time, and I think that there's no one that doesn't think that's just fabulous. So for you to find a way to make it happen at school, and all those volunteers, thank you from all of us to all of them. And I'm looking forward to you laying that groundwork so that it can sustain at Fidalgo and maybe rub off on the other schools as well. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Al. And
Just a
Allison has something to say as well. So.
quick question, sorry.
Someone's getting extra dessert.
Great. And Allison has a question, Dr. Dowd.
Okay, before you go, sorry. I really like this idea. I went to Fidalgo for a year, and so I appreciate it, and I think it's really great what you guys are doing. When dads are signing up to volunteer, they help out in classrooms, right? Yeah. Do they get to pick what classrooms they get to help out in?
So I create their schedule. So there's a sign-up genius, and I look each week, and they're assigned to the recesses and lunch with their kiddos. And then I'll connect with thank you. I'll connect with the teacher of their child or children and ask, do you need any help at this time? And usually they do. Like fifth grade teachers always want Zach there. So I don't even give him a schedule. He just goes. And then sometimes teachers say, oh, wow, I'm really just doing really direct instruction that time. That wouldn't work. But like today I had a parent of a fifth grader and a third grader helping in a first grade art class with our artist in the classroom, Joy. So, but as much as possible, I try to get them in their child's classroom. Yeah, and they definitely have time with them at their recesses and lunch. Good question.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you. All right, we have Career and Technical Education Month. So from NCTA, it says Greg Sherman on the agenda, but we have the privilege of having Lynette Brower join us instead. So, and a guest.
Good evening, Dr. Bruner, directors, and student board reps. Thanks for giving us a little bit of space tonight. I'm Lynette Brower, director of the Northwest Career and Technical Academy, and Greg Sherman is the organizer of all of us administrators trying to get out to our school boards on this happy CTE month. And so it's so fun to come home, and congratulations on a great levy. I love this community. I live in this community. I was just super excited that I got to come here tonight. So I will turn this over to Irene, one of your spectacular students who accesses NCTA as one of, I think, about 44 students who spend half of their day really in a very career-driven, preparatory-based program. So this is really for Irene.
Dear Dr. Bruner and members of the school board, thank you for giving me the time today to address you. My name is Irene Bonilla. I'm a senior here at Anacortes High School and a year 2 at Northwest Career and Technical Academy. As an NCTA ambassador, I am here to thank the Anacortes School Board and School District for supporting students' education by providing transportation, classroom space, and career-focused classes that spark our curiosity about future pathways. February is Career and Technical Education Month. CTE is an important part of schools because it allows us to be curious about our future's careers while developing valuable professional skills such as communication, problem solving, and responsibility. NCTA currently serves over 600 students representing 27 high schools, 16 school districts in Skagit, Whatcom, and northern Swinomish counties. We have 4 campuses that house 17 CTE programs. Classes meet daily for 2.5 hours. Students earn 3 credits towards high school graduation and can also earn dual credit through Skagit Valley College, Bellingham Technical College, and Whatcom Community College. We also build valuable connections by working with local businesses and organizations. Over my 4 years here at AHS, I've taken a total of 6 CTE classes, from mentoring classes like Health with Mr. Emery to electives like Marketing with Mr. Wallace, as well as Human Anatomy, once again with Mr. Emery. In the spring of my sophomore and junior year, I applied to NCTA for the Culinary Arts program. At NCTA, I entered an environment where every class is filled with dozens of students receiving hands-on training, surrounded by peers who share the same interests. CTE gives students the chance to explore and gain real-world experiences to jumpstart their careers. At NCTA, they offer an environment designed to support that kind of learning. I value the opportunities to work with my peers in professional settings. Some highlights include catering public events, as well as working in our on-site campus deli. With the support of my community, I am planning to attend the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Thanks to my experience in CTE classes, both at AHS and NCTA, I now understand the many career pathways available to me. I would like to thank the Anacortes School Board for your time today and your role in supporting me and dozens of other students' futures through Career and Technical Academy. If you have any questions, I will be available during the break. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. And thank you, Lynette, for being here as well. I think the past couple of years for Career and Tech Ed Month, the person that came signed up for public comment, and I was like, we just need to get them on the actual presentation. So I'm super glad that we made that happen this year, and thank you for being here to help us celebrate CTE Month. And I think Dr. Bruner also has something to add.
I do. You know, we really appreciate our partnership with NCTA. And I love the way that Irene talked about her experiences at AHS's CTE programs as well as at NCTA. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to the many strong programs that we offer here locally. And they have to do with everything from sports medicine, woodworking, AP computer science, personal training, digital media, metals, and more. And altogether, we offer 27 CTE classes and support for 6 career and tech ed organizations, also known as CTSOs, which are a very important part of the CTE programs. Next year, we're going to add to that list of CTE offerings with AP Psychology. Our CTSOs include Skills USA, Green Club, FBLA, Sports Medicine, Robotics, and Broadcast Club. So we are thankful for, again, our partnership with NCTA, and as Irene pointed out in her presentation, the way it's supposed to work is just what she described. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Bruner. We know that for such a small school like Anacortes is, we're just lucky to have all the opportunities for kids to take the courses that they are able to take. So
We certainly are. And Nikki has queued up a brief video that shares some, hopefully, photos of our students.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you. Yeah. Love to highlight the great options, the great opportunities kids have. All right, we're going to move into public comments this evening. We have one public comment, just a reminder for everyone that public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and the board doesn't typically respond during the public meeting, but if there's follow-up necessary, somebody will follow up. So the only person we have is Tina Wilder, and Nikki will be, do you have the clock over there, Nikki? Yeah, Nikki will be keeping the time so you can watch, and if it gets close to 3 minutes, we ask you to wrap up, please.
Good evening. I'm here tonight on behalf of my nephew to speak about governance, specifically this board's responsibility to ensure district policies are followed transparently and without exception. Board policies exist to protect students, staff, and the integrity of this district. They are not aspirations, they are mandatory procedures. When procedures are not followed, especially when a concern involves somebody in the position of authority, it undermines trust in the entire system. Policies must apply equally to everyone. When standards shift based on title or position, it signals preferential treatment and damages public trust. The district also maintains clear policies regarding boundaries between staff and students, including online interactions. These safeguards exist to protect students and the district. Selective enforcement places both at risk. Last year, this board publicly recognized itself as a school board of distinction. That title reflects strong standards. When policies are not followed consistently, it creates a disconnect between stated values and actual practice. This is not a request for special treatment. It is a request for equal application of policy, that board members be held to the same standards expected of every member in the district. If board-appointed policies can be set aside when a board member is involved, those policies lose authority. If students and families cannot rely on the district to follow its own procedures, trust is compromised. I urge this board to fulfill its responsibility by ensuring policies are enforced without exception, regardless of role, title, or position. For clarity and for the board members that are not directly involved, this matter remains unresolved because District Policy 4220P requires a meeting that was requested in a respectful manner and has not yet been granted. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we will move into the next part of our board meeting, which is superintendent comments. Dr. Bruner.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to start this evening by thanking our voters. While not yet official, results to date show support for our 2 replacement levies. We know it was a difficult consideration for many this time around, and we're grateful for all who took time to participate in the process. Next, I'd like to mention that the high school has been recognized by the College Board with a silver distinction on the 2025 AP, standing for Advanced Placement, School Honor Roll. And this reflects their strong commitment to student achievement and expanded access to advanced placement coursework for all students. Next, in partnership with the Anacortes Lions Club, hearing and vision screenings for students in grades K through 3, 5, and 7 have been taking place in our schools this week. Screenings at AMS, Island View, and Mount Erie have already occurred. Fidalgo is the last school, and that is scheduled for tomorrow. So we really appreciate all that Anacortes Lions Club does for us in making this possible. The referral period for highly capable testing will be open beginning March 2nd and extending through March 27th. Families may visit our website for more information and to access the referral link. Today, families, students, and staff hosted, as Jenny mentioned, a send-off to our student athletes for those students who are participating in the girls and boys wrestling tournament. And I'm not quite sure where that tournament is being held.
I think the Tacoma Dome. I
Is
know
it
the
Tacoma
boys are at the
Dome?
Tacoma Dome. Maybe the girls are there too. I'm not sure, but for
Okay,
sure.
thanks, Jenny. Our next send-off is scheduled for tomorrow at 8 a.m. for student athletes who are headed to the boys swim and dive state competition. And if you have not been to a send-off, it is quite a joyful occasion, and everyone is welcome, community members included. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you. We will turn it over then to board comments.
Just wanted to add a little bit to what Dr. Bruner talked about with a lot of send-offs with our student athletes. It's awesome. But my theme for this, I want to talk about real quickly, is our partnerships. We have some really good examples of it tonight with our communities for Anacortes schools. Even within that partnership or association, there's more partnerships there. And one that we talked a lot about was the relationship that the Anacortes School District has with its veteran community. There were 12 Navy veterans or spouses involved in that effort. People who maybe aren't necessarily native to Anacortes, but have chosen to live here, chosen to stay here, and invested in the community. I think that's a really cool partnership that this school district benefits from. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one of our other biggest partners is the Fidalgo Dance Studio. They've got their annual gala this weekend. And we're just grateful for all of the opportunities they provide our students to perform in Broadniak and all across the place. And then not least of which, obviously, a really cool presentation about our CTE and our partnership with NCTA. Just so glad to have that in place. Just wanted to add those thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Other board comments?
Just in case anyone decides to listen, since I'm talking to the choir right now, we had our site visit at Mount Erie at the beginning of the month. And just as a reminder about how that's really one of the best parts of this job is getting to go and see the kids in the classroom and the teachers in action. And it was to watch the teachers. Carl walked with me, and to watch the teachers and student engagement. It's really clear on these site visits that focus on student engagement is coming to life in our schools, and we got to see it live and in person a couple of weeks ago, and it just was a very joyful time. So I just wanted to thank Mount Erie for that visit.
Thank you. And I'll just close out by reiterating what Dr. Bruner said. We thanked the Citizens Committee for their work with the levy, but just wanted to also reiterate thanks to the entire community and everybody who voted, because the passage of the levies is so important for us to be able to continue offering opportunities for students. And so thankful to the community for their support of our schools. That just continues. All right, let's move into then student board rep comments. And so we have one building report from Madeline this evening. Madeline is going to tell us about the Anacortes Middle School.
Yeah, so I had the amazing opportunity to talk with Dr. Plummer about Anacortes Middle School and learn all about the amazing work that's been going on there. I just wanted to start by saying thank you to all the wonderful teachers, students, and staff for making this district such an amazing place, and thank you to Dr. Plummer for this chance to learn more about this awesome school in our district. The questions I asked were based on the school's improvement plan and some of the growth that has been measured and implemented this year. So to jump right in, the first question I asked was, what are the primary goals outlined in your school's improvement plan this year? Dr. Plummer said that the main goals that were outlined were making instruction available for everyone through UDL, supporting a safe and supportive learning environment through supporting student behavior, and supporting the social and emotional well-being of our student body, creating a healthy school climate and culture. I thought that was really amazing, and I asked the next question as a follow-up, to better understand the implementation, was what evidence supports the progress made towards these goals. And he replied with student performance in the classroom and classroom observations prioritizing UDL, and then discipline data helps to reinforce the progress as well. And there has been great student voice and panorama data that supports progress towards these goals. Another question I asked was, how does your school's improvement plan align with the strategic plan's pillars? So he said the supporting instruction, supporting SEL, supporting stewardship through behavior, and building and establishing partnerships. And then to move away from the school improvement plan and closer to how we hope to create a supportive and safe environment for the kids in our district through the staff, I asked the question, how have you promoted awareness of student outcomes within your school community? And he said, through professional develop opportunities with staff and celebrating student success throughout the building, most notably through student recognition assemblies and partnership with student leadership. And then I saved some of my favorite parts for last and to highlight the great parts of the school. I really feel passionate about talking about all of the highlights and the good, proud moments from this year, and I feel like showing this helps to tie our community tighter together. So, one question I asked was there anything else you want to highlight? And he said, we are continuing to grow our community and students are reporting a greater sense of belonging. I think that's amazing. And then some of the proud moments from this year so far was how they have grown together as a school community and gotten closer with each other. They had an amazing Veterans Day assembly. They had celebrated many students' growth and development through this year so far, and they're beginning to establish stronger relationships with their community partners. Thank you guys so much for this amazing opportunity to talk about this amazing community. I'm so excited for every opportunity to get to learn more about the work that gets done in this community and the chance to pull back the curtain and see all the behind-the-scenes work and passion that gets put into our student and school community. So thank you.
Thank you, Madeline. A great report, and super excited that you got to meet our district's newest principal and have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what he's doing at the middle school. Appreciate you and the report. Are there other student comments this evening?
Oh, there we go. I also, it's CTE month, but I also want to talk a little bit about it because I'm really heavily involved in CTE programs at AHS. I'm the president of the broadcast club here, and I'm very heavily involved in the advanced digital media class, along with Andrew Fisher, who was, he made the videos for the Citizens for Anacortes. Just the CTE offerings that we have at Anacortes are super unique to us. I haven't seen or heard about other people from other schools with the same opportunities. Just fantastic in-class experience, as well as the teachers who offer those classes, offering the time after school to supervise clubs. Personally, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Williamson, who is the new teacher for the digital media program. This is his second year, but he's really stepped up to help with the broadcast club, and we've had a lot of struggles recently, but he's really stepped up, and I just want to give a shout out to him while it's CTE month. I also want to thank voters. I can't vote yet, I'm not 18, but I want to thank voters who did vote for the levies, because they are very important especially to continue the CTE programs that I have benefited from and that so many other of my peers have benefited from. And also, in Maddie's report, she talked about the really successful Veterans Day Assembly that AMS had, and I was actually there because they invited the AHS concert choir to come down and sing. And it was a really good assembly. I was like, I got down there and I was sitting down there watching them rehearse. I was like, these are middle schoolers? Because they carry themselves so professionally. And I think that's just a great example of how AMS's leadership has helped grow new leaders. I think that's it.
Thank you, Zephyrin.
Okay. Hold on, my calendar. Where did it go? Okay, so in March, there is the HS drama performance of Theory of Relativity, March 19th. That's our opening night. And we have 5 performances. There's one day where we have a double performance day, and that's on a Sunday. So make sure you come see it because we've put a lot of great work into it. On the topic of the levy, I know we've been talking about it a lot, but it's really important for our students. And as a student in the theater program and in choir and in all of these classes, the levy really helps our students be able to do the things that they want to do, and also keep our schools safe. So I really appreciate the voters for voting for the levy and making sure that it passed, because without it, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we can do. So yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, students. All right, we will move into our finance update. Dr. Frazier is going to start with the enrollment report.
Okay, hello, welcome. Thanks for having me tonight. We'll start with some of the basics again, and we skip by this often, but that second point annual average FTE is going to become important in our conversation tonight. So just to reiterate, each month our enrollment is reported to OSPI and it informs our apportionment. But we're not funded on the actual enrollment for that month. We're funded on the average so far throughout the year. So if there's a change in enrollment, it's not necessarily a sudden change in funding. It's metered due to the averaging of the FTE. So when we look at the enrollment and the change in February, it is down 23 students. You can see what grade bands that they came from and where we actually gained 1 in 3rd grade. But overall, the total count is down 23.1 FTE. So the question to always follow is, do we know where those kids went? And we can tell you that 41% of them opted to homeschool, 32% moved out of state, 20% moved in-state, and there were a couple of kids that were dropped to 0 FTE from non-attendance. So they missed 20 days of school consecutively, and they were dropped from our enrollment. They're still enrolled in school, but their FTE count is 0. So that's what we know about where they went. Dr. Bruner and I went looking for similar patterns in our enrollment to see, is this an anomaly? Has it happened before? We saw a very similar pattern 5 years ago, and we saw a very similar pattern 10 years ago. And the wonder then, is it to do with deployment and military families moving or being deployed elsewhere? Dr. Bruner had a chance to talk with some folks on base, and that may be the case, that part of this is to do with some redeployment or I apologize, I don't know the word that they use for it, but military families that were asked to move to serve at a different location. That's what it looks like compared to the average. You can see it's a pretty steep drop compared to that average, and that's what it looks like compared to last year's enrollment. And again, the gray line is our budget. So even if we were funded at the 2461, we're still well above the budgeted amount of 2436. And to fall even to that budgeted amount, we'd have to be below it from now on for the rest, because we have 5 months at right around 2485. So that's going to keep our average up as we're funded through the rest of the year. Some things I just want to point out, we talked about this already, it's not an immediate crisis because of the averaging of FTE and the way they pay us. I don't still like the way that we're paid by student, and it makes each student transactional, but in this case, it's a benefit that they average that over time. And we do have 5 months at that high average, so if we look at the annual average up till January, it was 2486. And with 1 month down below, our new annual average FTE through February is 2482. So it's down, and it will be a consequential change, but it doesn't constitute an immediate crisis. What people tend to do is look at that and say, 23 kids, it's however much money per kid, and they start doing math and say, wow, that's going to be a big deal, and it will be a big deal. It's just not an immediate drop. So we have some time to prepare for this. The board did not adjust when enrollment came in higher significantly. We didn't say, okay, we have some extra kids, let's hire a bunch of extra people. That was a wise thing to not do, because now we'd be trying to undo some of that. And in some ways we could, in some ways we couldn't. So that's good news. And it's a good opportunity to point out a challenge that I know you guys are all aware of, but here we have a case where we had, many more kids than we budgeted for, and that increased our funding from what we prepared and planned for. It didn't make an operational change. Now we have kids that aren't there anymore, and again, there's no operational change to that. If we have 23 fewer kids, we don't not run a bus. We don't turn down the heat. We don't close a classroom. There's no operational change, but there will be a significant change to our funding outcome. So it's a challenge with the model that I know you're all aware of, but it's a good opportunity to point to a real world instance of this happening. Before I go on, are there any questions so far about enrollment and how this plays out? Okay. So last month we looked at this, which includes a budgeted 2026-27 FTE of 2444, and that looks like a steep change from the last few years. But if we update that, remember we have that cohort retention rate where we expect to lose kids throughout the year, so that's based on our December rate, what we expect next September. This is what it looks like now. So it looks, on paper, much more gradual and reasonable to say, we've got a slight downward pattern for these 2 years, and it's more even, and 2444 doesn't look like such a stark change from the previous year anymore. And that again goes to just, we expect to lose some kids with attrition over time throughout the year. I did not personally expect to lose 23 in February, but what I expect doesn't really change the outcome. So moving on with budget, I don't need the board to take any action on this. I just need to state these two facts, and this is how I'm going to move forward preparing the budget. So if I'm off, now is a chance to tell me or correct me, or maybe you have Dr. Bruner do that at a later date. But so far as I know, the estimated average annual FTE for 26-27 that we discussed last time, based on the math and what we expect from previous trends, we're going to aim for 2444, which is still more than we budgeted for this year. So what looked like maybe a very conservative estimate is now looking like maybe it's less conservative. And again, we'll continue to monitor both of these assumptions throughout the process. Also, without putting a dollar amount to it, what I've heard from the board is that you want to balance impact to the community and the fiscal responsibility of needing and having a fund balance. So we're not looking to immediately try to rebuild, but we also know that we need to steadily rebuild over time over the next few years to get to at least our 4% board policy, and at some point maybe legislated to have more than that, or may look at our fund balance for a longer term once we get to a more sustainable place. So those are the assumptions that, unless I'm told otherwise, I will be using to prepare our budget. Okay, questions or discussion?
Any questions? Yep.
Thank you. So do you think that the really sharp decrease in full-time enrollment in this past report could have something to do with the end of the semester at middle school and high school? Is there a relationship there?
Yes, a great question, and I think there absolutely could be, especially with 41% of those families opting to, 41% of those kids, so a few families opting to move to homeschool. There's a natural transitional time to do it and say, we'll finish this semester and then we're going to try something different that may be a better fit for our family. So yes, I do think there could be something to that. Good question.
Even moving, I think sometimes when families get reassigned, they wait until the semester's over. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I just want to provide a little bit of context around that. So, Dr. Bruner communicated to the board members a week or two ago about the meeting with Captain Gamache at the air station, and it had been mentioned that there had been several families that had transferred recently. There's a lot to unpack there before I think we could really draw some causative lines to our enrollment. First is how many of those families from Whidbey that transferred lived here and went to school here. Typically, it's about 12 to 15% of the NAS Whidbey Island population lives in Anacortes, so it's already small. The next piece of it would be that's going on throughout the year, unlike the Army, who typically tends to move everybody at one time in the summer. The Navy moves people all around the calendar. So I'm not sure that I would necessarily associate a cluster in 1 month. Certainly something worth looking into. The other piece of that, though, is typically when people transfer, especially the seniority and experience of the Navy folks who live in Anacortes, when they transfer, they're getting replaced. So it's not an open system. There's a replacement. Now, whether they live here and go to school here or not, or in Oak Harbor, there's something to be figured out there. But I think it's an interesting data point that Captain Gamache brought up, but I don't know that I would want to go too far down the road of affixing too much of that FTE to that factor, because there's so many layers there that we just can't know.
I appreciate that context. Thank you.
Brian, I have a question. So based on the slide 7, it says the budget September to February is 2482, and then the AAFTE is 2436.
Apologies.
Sorry. Slide 7 is what I'm referring to.
Yes. So if you take the average, so September to January FTE, the average annual FTE there is 2486. And then if you take that to February, it's 2482. So the drop in 23 for 1 month so far brings us down to 2482. The budgeted number is 2436.
Oh,
so we're still well above the budget.
Okay, but then if the budgeted amount is 2436, but then on the slide for 2627, you're going with 2444. That's a little above what we budgeted because we were so low. Like we're bumping it up just a tad bit more for 2627.
Correct, and that's an assumption that we could change.
Okay.
And if enrollment continues to decline steeply, we may look at that assumption again. But when we looked at the comparison from December with the cohort retention rate of about 97%, 97 and change, plus the annual changing trends, that's what 2444 was the number that made most sense in the math.
Okay, and it still feels conservative given that it's about 40 below what we're budgeted for right now, what we have right now currently, not budgeted for.
It felt very conservative. It feels less conservative now, but the math hasn't changed.
Okay.
It's just doing what we expected it to do over time, which was draw down some to have a cohort retention rate of, not our full enrollment over the year.
Okay.
So
Great.
my feeling is less consequential than the math.
Okay, that's helpful. And then we'll have to take a look at the next couple of months and see what the trend.
Correct.
Happens.
Yes, we don't need to approve a budget until our July meeting, or August, and we can change it up till the last minute as long as we all agree on it at that time and have a public hearing about it. We can continue to monitor and change those assumptions.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
All right, I think we can move on to the finance report then.
Okay. Thank you, Nikki. Okay, so this one's much more straightforward. Those are our changes in fund balance and our current fund balances in the middle. So this is tracking where we expect it to see it, except for the general fund, which we'll talk about a little bit later. You see that we're down significantly in debt service. That's because we made a bond payment and a payment to our loan. This is the revenue as it comes in, still tracking steadily up. A large portion of our state revenue, which is our largest portion of revenue, will come in the month of July and August. So we're still tracking along the way as we expected there, and matching it with expenditures. So if you look at the actual numbers at the bottom there, $20,610,000 in budgeted revenue and $20,761,000 in expenditure. We're about even right now. So as expected is what we can say about that. You see that January was a little bit positive. We expected it to be a little bit negative, and we'll talk more about that on the next slide. And overall, we're just under $200,000 less than where we started from year to date. Same slide just shows the differences in the steadiness of our expenditures and the more erratic nature of our revenues. And where we saw last month a more steep decline than we expected in December. As I mentioned, that was mostly due to the fact that December is typically the month that we would collect more of our federal grants and get those going. We were a little bit delayed mostly because of OSPI. So in January, where we expected another decline, we actually saw an increase for two major reasons. One was the collection of specifically the federal SPED grant related to IDEA, and the Anacortes Schools Foundation did provide payments for services we've been doing up until January. We sent them an invoice and they sent us our payments back. And we greatly appreciate not only ASF, but everybody and every group that participates with ASF to make that coalition as strong as it is to give us the support. So that's where we're bucking the trend, and coming into February, which is one of our two lowest months, in a much stronger position than we would have expected to be, which is good news.
Great. Any questions about the finance report? No? Just, I know that sometimes February can be, to use a I don't know, specific term, dicey. And so happy that looks like it's not the case, and some of those revenues came in. So thank you. All right, thank you.
Great.
All right, committee updates. Jack, do you have a WIAA update?
I do not.
Okay. Meredith, do you have I'm imagining you do have a legislative update.
I do and I don't all at the same time, right? So I asked Brian earlier if I just missed something because I haven't seen a lot of budgetary things happening. I'm seeing a lot of regulations around cell phones or some special education work. Like there is education things happening, but there hasn't been a lot of talk around numbers yet. Waiting to figure out what the budget looks like. We do know that they're actually looking at some stronger, they think there's more restrictions than originally projected in the budgets for schools, which is not promising, and including some lower rates on MSOCs reimbursements, which is also not great. So I don't have a lot of good news to talk about from a financial perspective. Also, there's a few, because of the crisis in our state with some school districts, including our own with having a low fund balance, there is a number of pieces of legislation around requiring school boards to have a certain fund balance, or holding school boards to certain accountability regarding finances in ways that are a lot more overreaching than they've been in the past. So I just want to share with the board members that there are two pieces of legislation that I feel like we can weigh in on, and I will put both of those out to you with ways that you can do that, and I will get those emails out to you tomorrow so that you can decide if you would also like to weigh in on how you feel about those bills around the financial restrictions on both our finance director and on our board members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's hard to imagine that we would be held to a standard of a fund balance when the funding is not coming through to do that. So happy to weigh in ways that we can on that with the legislature this session. Thank you for your advocacy and eye on those things. All right, for our policy governance this evening, we have a quality instruction and curriculum pillar report from Dr. Bruner.
I am going to be joined by Dr. Mitchell Muma and Kristen Kohler. And the reason I believe that Justin often had Becky participate I think it's even more important this year, given the transition that we're in.
Yep.
And so I have appreciated the work that we have done together as a team with regard to Pillar 1. So we'll start with my targeted goal, which you approved, I believe, in October. I focused on the 5-year goal, which is 1.1 in our strategic plan, and it has to do essentially at its core with continuous improvement and learning systems, learning opportunities that are focused on continuous improvement, equity, hands-on learning, and certainly technology, all as tools for continuous improvement in the classroom. The performance outcome that we focused on was staff engaging in the continuous improvement process. And you can see what action items are listed there. The key performance outcome essentially is easily understood by you, I know, as professional learning communities, or in some schools, primarily the high school, professional learning teams. We have gained some momentum and also focused on continuity in several areas. We began, Molly and I did, toward the beginning of the school year, actually, late summer, in taking a look at our school improvement formats, the plans, and we began to talk with principals about what was working for them and what they would like to see changed. And they recommended, and I know I spoke with Jenny about this, they recommended reintegrating student data outcomes or metrics within the plan, as opposed to breaking them out and including them separately. So with that, we moved forward and really this year tried to get pretty clear with principals around what we wanted to see with school improvement plans. And we asked them to let us know when their drafts were ready, and we reviewed their drafts, and in almost all cases recommended some minor adjustments, and they certainly did that happily. And then we helped get them to the point where we thought that they were ready for board approval. Speaking of which, I really want to thank the board for a change in the way that you approved school improvement plans this year. To me, and I think to our team, and also to our building principals, they are a very important part of the work. And it's something that we talk to principals about, that they talk to us about on an ongoing basis throughout the school year. And we felt that necessitated a change from including them in the consent agenda to elevating them to new business, and also having them introduced by Dr. Mitchell-Muma, who provided, just as you will recall, a very cursory overview, but important overview before you went about your approval. As was the case with years past, Molly and I have met with building principals monthly. And actually, I don't think that was done with elementary principals, but that was a change that elementary principals asked for, because for them, 2 meetings a month, one with me and one with Molly, that was in some ways redundant, in other ways time-consuming at the very least. So we talked about that and quickly agreed to meet with them together, and that, I think, has turned out to be positive, not only for them, but also for us, because much of our conversation is very similar, focused on the same things. Along with that, we have gotten from building principals lots of input on professional development. And I know that Molly met with them toward the beginning of the year and asked for their input. And as the board knows, that is provided through our meetings in what are called, or with what are called, the instructional leadership team. And that team is Molly's responsibility, basically. And she has a very well-defined plan that goes from here, actually now, until May or perhaps June and into next year. So it's very cohesive and just makes a lot of sense. Continuous PLC inquiry really has been a big part of our focus in our work with building principals. Most of you know that in years past, certainly not 2 years or 3 years past, but before that, there was a lengthy period of time when there was a lot of support at the district level and at the building level for leading professional learning communities. Much of that support has gone away due to budget reductions. And so we were initially curious about the impact of that loss of support on the way PLCs have become different. How do they operate now versus how did they used to operate? Elementary principals have been able to really salvage that inquiry cycle with their PLCs by embedding student growth goals, which you all know are an essential part of the teacher evaluation system, and embedding those into PLCs. And we have also become curious hearing that about, okay, well, student growth goals are good for about a 6-week, 7-week period of time because they focus on a unit of study. Well, what happens after that? Does the cycle of inquiry within PLCs continue in schools? And in fact, it does. It looks a bit different. And with some teams, it's stronger than with other teams, which is true always because teams are different, need different levels of support. But we have become heartened by what we have seen there. So we haven't only heard that from principals. Molly and I have also visited PLCs and watched the work that they're engaged in. Instructional alignment is all around where are we with curriculum, and how is that being implemented in our schools, and what does that look like K-12? And Molly will talk a lot more about that in a few moments. Both of us, and actually all three of us, have focused on visibility in schools and engagement in schools. Jack said to me at one point, probably November-ish, when he and I were meeting, he said, we both know where the work takes place, and it's not at the district office, it's in schools. And we are extremely aware of that. Not only are we aware of that, but that's where we all started, and that's where we really get our buckets replenished, is by going to schools and interacting with principals, interacting with teachers, interacting with paraeducators and students, and seeing exactly what happens and what support is needed. There are certainly opportunities that we've discovered, and I won't spend a lot of time on those because a lot of those are similar to what you've seen in years past. Strengthening PLCs at the secondary level, although the high school, it's different. And trying to get to a point where K-12, we're at a model that works for all, is what that first bullet really is all about. Data literacy is continuing to be an area of focus, and we really have, I think Molly and Kristen as well have made some real progress there. We've had a lot of great conversations with principals, some this week, about what would work best moving forward with benchmark assessments. And I look forward to hearing about how that plays out next year. And certainly supporting targeted student intervention, that gets tricky at the secondary level due to schedules. And then the last one, scaling data-based decision-making district-wide. And by that, I mean to include the cabinet, to include DLT, to include all of our operations departments, HR, finance. The more we can get very explicit about how we use data to make decisions, the better off we're going to be. And I will go ahead and turn that over to Molly.
So for the next couple of slides, I'm going to just enhance what Dr. Bruner shared. He talked about a lot of the components that we've been engaged in this year, but I tend to think of it really visually in terms of this graphic you've probably seen me use before, and I'll continue to use it because I think that for me it captures all of these components in that really what we're about at the foundation is student learning. That's it. That's what drives our entire system, right? And from there, that student information, that communication, the teachers look at that and they think about their professional development goals. They think about their student growth goals. They think about how they're going to support students. And the teacher and the principal have a conversation, and across a building, that principal collects that information and creates a SIP plan, right? What are we seeing across our building? Where do we need to improve? And that moves then to the district level, and we start to talk about that at the district level. It helps, like as Carl mentioned, guide the adult learning plan. What do principals need? What do we need as a cabinet to provide to them in terms of learning so that they can provide learning to their teachers so that they can be better teachers for their students? So that system of communication, support, and accountability then comes up to the school board where you look at your strategic plan, right? And I know that next year we're going to look at that plan, it sounds like, more closely. So the whole system is really, the foundation of it is student learning. And we've talked a bit this year about that classroom to boardroom, and that's that through line, that red line through the center of our system. So I'll continue to bring this graphic back to us to just, as we're talking about particular components, it's easy to get compartmentalized, but really we're a system, we serve students, and we have ways and structures that we are accountable to each other, communicate with each other, and support each other. So, and I'm just going to talk a little bit more deeply about the instructional leadership team and the work that we do. It really is the way for Kristen and I and Carl and the cabinet to provide learning and support for the principals. We have 2 hours and a little bit of time a month, sometimes a little bit more if we can find it. It's really not enough time, but we try and make the best of it. We try and pull in professionals in areas that we know the principals are wanting support in. And I think nothing makes my day more than knowing that a principal used the professional learning that we provided with their staff. So when I hear, hey, I'm going to use this with my staff, or we hear a report later that they utilized resources, that lets me know that we're on the right track, that we're getting principals what they need to support teachers so that they can support students. And what Carl suggested is true. At the beginning of the year, I met with Dr. Clifford for about 5 days. We talked about the work that she was doing. And then I met with the principals at the beginning of the year. I met with the MTSS specialists at the beginning of the year, and then some key staff that had been engaged in the work at the district level so that I could hear the story of and gather information around the path that they had been on. In terms of professional learning, and then took all of that information and created a kind of a top 10 list of the work that we knew that principals wanted to continue into this year. And now we're at a place where we're starting to refine that list and get more specific about where we want to go into next year. And so for the next few ILTs, we'll be looking at data, we'll be looking at their SIP plans, we'll be looking at their MAP scores, and we'll be planning for next year. So we'll be revising those goals, thinking about those goals, just like they do with teachers and just like teachers do with their classrooms, right? And again, that idea of trying to keep our systems consistent and keeping them focused on the work of improving student learning. It's exciting. It's exciting work to go from a list that I knew where it came from, but I hadn't been a part of, to now we're building a framework and work together going into next year. Another goal that Carl and I have been working on this year, actually the whole team has, is equitable and rigorous curriculum, including multiple pathways for success. And again, that was an area where I gathered, as a new director coming in, gathering information, listening to principals, listening to cabinet members, listening to teachers, listening to students at times. But a key ingredient for the first semester for Carl and Kristen and I was getting into classrooms and seeing what was happening. Just as you experience in the buildings, you really get a sense of what is happening, how students are engaged, how teachers are engaged with their students. And for me to be able to go from a kindergarten class to a high school class and see how math is taught across our district was really important for me to experience before I ever worked with anyone to start making decisions about where we were going next with curriculum, right? I think it's really important. And professional development in terms of what teachers are wanting next for specific professional development. There were some critical items out of the gate that teachers had asked for. There were workbooks that needed to be purchased, and there's some other materials that are going to be on the short list going into next year. But getting a good sense of what was happening in our classrooms was key. So for second semester, coming into this spring, two components that will help guide the work into next year are listening tours. So I'm spending about 3 hours in each building, just being present for staff to come and drop in and let me know what they're thinking, what their needs are, what their wants are for next year and into the future. And then a survey as well. Sometimes people aren't necessarily comfortable coming in and sharing. They want to just be able to write it out on their own time. So there'll be a survey as well. Then I'll take all of that to the ILT and we'll start thinking about next steps. There was a 3-year plan for curriculum adoption, a 3-year cycle that ended last year. And so that's something we need to do so that we can make good decisions that are fiscally responsible over time across the district. And that brings me to the areas of momentum and continuity. So continuing work from last year, listening and observing across the district, again, seeing that alignment, that vertical alignment in our key subject areas, and then just determining the next steps, the 3-year plan for curriculum renewal. I think opportunities, and these are things you've probably heard, the idea of fidelity around Tier 1 instructional materials, right? When you adopt curriculum, ensuring that it's being taught with fidelity across the district, across grade levels, is important to student experience. And then professional learning for recalibration. So sometimes there may be drift with curriculum, and that may be just a matter of bringing people back to why curriculum was adopted and getting them more experience as staffing changes and as people just need a little tune-up on curriculum, so bringing people in. And that's part, I think, of curriculum and material purchase and thinking about, it's like making sure that you have the professional development for staff so that they understand the material, they know how they can instruct it, and they feel confident when they're instructing with the materials. And then just, again, making sure that we're thinking about what that looks like fiscally. I'm going to pause there and turn it over to Kristen.
Good evening. I wanted to talk today a little bit about a key performance outcome 1.45 regarding the special education determination that we talked about last year. So over the past 2.5 years, we've really been focused on improving our special education determination. Special education determination is a part of compliance, which sometimes can be discounted as not as important. But if you think about the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, and kind of at the heart of that are a lot of accountability pieces that are tied to compliance, right? So we're really looking at all those factors that help make sure that schools, districts are providing the services for students to allow them to access a free and appropriate education and meet their educational needs for their unique needs. So it's an important component of our work, even though it doesn't sound always so exciting. Districts are held accountable by the state for these indicators, and states are held accountable by the federal government. So these are the areas of compliance that we've been focusing on. Audit results, the state audits special education departments within districts on kind of a rotating basis. So that comes up for us occasionally. We're not on the roadmap yet for OSPI, but I imagine we'll land there sometime soon. The other thing is correcting any errors in compliance for the previous year. So they're making sure that districts are accountable for that. Timely submission of the many, many reports that we submit every school year for special education compliance. And then our determination itself becomes a part. All of the components we talked about in the indicators are important to make sure that we're meeting those standards. And then the significant disproportionality speaks to the making sure that we are not over-identifying students, underrepresented students for discipline or special education eligibility. So those are things that they're looking for when they're giving out the compliance levels. So on these two tables, you can see that on the left-hand side with the green banner is the 2024-25 Washington State district determination level, and level 1 being the highest, meeting requirements. We have 124 districts in our state meeting at level 1. And level 2, we have 126 districts in the state that need some level of assistance. And level 3, we have 31 needing more intensive intervention, which might mean that there's some corrective action that has to happen. And then we have level 1 district currently at level 4, and they need some substantial intervention, which would be perhaps some consultation by the state or some closer oversight by the state to make sure that they're meeting those requirements. So you can see that that's lagging data. That's last year's compliance determination. We receive it every year, annually in November. So that's for last year. And the next table is the Anacortes School District Special Ed Determination level. So we, for the past 5 years, you can see that there was a downward trajectory there for a few years between 2020 and 2023. So we really, in the last 2.5 years, picked up our focus on areas of compliance. And for the last 2 years, we've maintained at level 1. Which is the highest level. So that's exciting work. Some of the things that we did to improve our special education determination were to really educate folks in the district about the special education determination and compliance indicators so that people were aware of the things that we're being held responsible for. So that really made a big difference. We did a lot of training with staff about the importance of compliance and kind of the why behind compliance, and trying to really impress upon them kind of what I said, that it is important for students with disabilities to have the protections and the opportunities afforded to them through the IDEA, and monitored and accountability provided through compliance. We also did a lot of work with the instructional leadership team. None of this work can happen in my office or with my staff alone. It really is a district-wide effort, so making sure that we were all on the same page was really important, and I think had a big impact on the indicators for the last few years. The second thing that we did that was really helpful was documenting all of these compliance components in a department practice and guidance manual, which we update annually, continue to fine tune. So not only does that give people kind of the clarity, consistency and coherence around compliance, which has been an area of focus, but also to maintain that longevity. So long after I'm gone or any of us are gone, that will be in place for folks to refer to in terms of what's compliant in special education. Opportunities, like Molly mentioned, we're really doing a lot of work in building out the multi-tiered systems, and thinking about multi-tiered systems through appropriate identification of students receiving special education, but also that support that can be available in a coherent and strong system for students who need more support with social emotional learning, behavioral support. So we're going to be doing a lot of work over the next couple of years. We have a deadline looming over us by the state to make some shifts in how we identify students with disabilities, with specific learning disabilities. So we have a lot of work to do there, but we have a good handle on some next steps. So that's exciting. That'll be exciting work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, any comments about the pillar report?
Just wanted to comment that three of you are a super impressive team, as well as the rest of the team in the back, but the three of you that are here tonight presenting. And obviously we have Dr. Bruner just for a year. Sadly, we wish we could have you longer, but it does make at least me feel better to know that we've got you two as the connective tissue, the through line, the continuity, to continue working through all the great work that you've done in partnership with Dr. Bruner, but even after he moves on, knowing that you'll be here to keep these efforts going is super important, so thanks.
I echo that. No talk of leaving anytime soon. Although super happy that these systems are being put in place so that we can continue to maintain our compliance ratings and everybody sort of is on the same page. I wrote a lot of comments that we'll be discussing when we do the pillar evaluation in a little bit later this evening, but just appreciate all of the work. And I know that we, with several leadership transitions this year, we were really, as a board, we were focused on let's kind of keep the ship sailing and keep things moving forward, and just appreciate both your Dr. Bruner and Dr. Mitchell-Muma coming in and with the perspective of like, let's get into the classrooms and let's talk to the teachers and talk to the principals and let's learn and let's respond to the needs that people are sharing with us before really making decisions about next steps and moving forward. And in spite of that, you've all made progress in any way with moving things forward in terms of tightening up school improvement plans, thinking about bringing some alignment across schools, thinking about reinvesting in PLCs and supporting the professional learning of principals. So just appreciate the stance of let's come in and learn and really get our feet under ourselves around what's happening before we make big decisions, but still continuing to move things forward. So appreciate all of that.
We've seen most of this work. Just it's nice to see it in a tidy little package. But my headline is that for each of those segments, you talked about momentum and continuity, and that really makes I think, us feel like we were heard about what we expected from this year, from work from the district leadership team. And that just like summarizes everything for me, the momentum and continuity and how well you've done that through all three parts of this pillar. So thank you very much.
Great. With that, I will take a motion then to approve the pillar report for this evening.
I move to approve item 12A, the pillar report for quality instruction and curriculum.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
Second that.
Thank you, Heather. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you. All right, we will move into new business, and we have policy updates, which Nicole is going to lead us through. Some votes and some first reads. So we will be ready for all of those.
All right. Good evening, board. My name is Nicole Tesh, and I will be reviewing the policy updates for February 19th, 2026. Tonight for policies for review, we have policy 1630, evaluation of the superintendent, which is incredibly relevant because that's exactly what the process you're doing. And we're going to remove a handful of policies, and we'll walk through exactly why I'm recommending that you remove them throughout the process. And we'll go through that list. Just a reminder to the general public, when we have our policies, we deem them in 3 separate categories. And WASDA changed some of those definitions. There's 3 categories: critical, important, and discretionary. Critical is formerly essential, and important was formerly encouraged. So just keep that in mind as you look at some of our old policies and new ones as we update them. I should have had Director Curtis time me this time to see how well we do tonight. All right, so the first policy up is policy 1630, evaluation of the superintendent. This is a first read for tonight, and this policy is deemed critical. The purpose of this policy is to make sure that the superintendent does exactly what he is supposed to do, and there's clear guidelines and criteria. So the revisions of this policy are basically that the state law was not identified within the policy, and so now that language in regards to those evaluations and how they can be performed in an executive session, that language is now embedded in the policy. Is there any questions on this one? All right, next up, I'm recommending that we remove policy 6240 and 6240P. It's a food and beverage consumption. This is a vote for tonight. The original purpose of this policy was it was a regulation for expenditures for food and beverages for district meetings and expenses that are documented. The reason for the removal for this one is this one's a little bit too specific for state law. WASDA removed it from the model policy list in 2011 without a replacement. However, these type of items are embedded within our handbook, and they're also embedded within other policies, especially in the finance category. So it's kind of a little duplicative. Any questions on this one?
We will take a motion then to remove policy 6240, food and beverage consumption.
So moved.
Thank you, Meredith. Is there a second? Thank you, Jack. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next policy up is policy 6510 and the corresponding procedure 6510P. This is a vote tonight. The original intent of this policy was to ensure safe and adequate playground equipment and laboratory spaces for our students, and just to kind of mitigate those health and safety risks for students and staff. The reason for this removal, it is incredibly broad on this one. So this has been kind of rolled into an overall policy, policy 6800, that wraps everything from every different type of policy that is taking it out of context, and they've added it to safety operations and maintenance of school property so that it's a little bit more specific. And then it also makes it so that it's more comprehensive rather than a standalone policy. Any questions?
All right, I will take a motion then to approve the removal of policy 6510. Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meredith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next up, I'm recommending the removal of policy 6512 and 6512P, infection control program, and this is a vote for tonight. The original intent of this policy was to protect staff and the school community from vaccine preventable and bloodborne diseases by recommending immunizations, providing exposure-based training, and medical follow-up. And it talks a little bit about the confidentiality of these documents. The reason for removal tonight is this is incredibly outdated. It's been updated and consolidated into new health and infection control policies. Some of them we've already approved where it's super specific, especially with health conditions, so that we are current with public health guidance and legal requirements. So this one is no longer needed.
Great, so I will take a motion to approve the removal of policy 6512.
I move that we remove policy 6512.
Thank you, Heather. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Double duty here. All right, the next one up is the removal of policy 6921 and the corresponding procedure 6921P, educational specifications, and this one is up for a vote tonight as well. The original purpose of this one is to ensure school facilities meet instructional needs while providing accessibility for students with disabilities and equitable education opportunities for all genders. While it looks like I'm recommending removal of this policy, this policy has been rolled into another policy, and it's more updated. It's been rolled into policy 6920. So that it better organizes the planning and the guidance so that it facilitates that educational specification learning. So again, we're pulling little pieces out of policy and making it a more well-rounded policy cleanup.
Great, thank you. So I will take a motion to approve the removal of policy 6921.
So moved.
Thank you, Meredith. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Heather. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Next policy up tonight is the removal of policy 6923, energy conservation, and this one is up for a vote tonight. The original intent of this policy is to ensure that major construction and renovation projects incorporate energy efficiency design and minimize energy costs. Just because we are removing this policy tonight does not mean that the district wants to get rid of energy conservation in the district. However, this has been replaced and consolidated into updated facility planning and sustainability policies throughout the book. There's so many to list that I didn't put them all in here, but they are encompassed in other policies. Rather than maintaining a standalone policy, it is now in one little package for you guys.
Thank you. So I will take a motion to approve the removal of policy 6923.
So moved.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meredith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is the removal of policy 6957, change orders. This one is up for a vote tonight. The original intent of this policy, I think you guys put it into place right before this high school was built. And so there was a definite need to be able to adjust when you guys were building it. However, there is policies and state laws that are embedded with current legal requirements. Things have changed since you guys have built this school, and this policy is now not relevant.
Great. So I will take a motion to approve removal of policy 6957.
So moved.
Thank you, Heather. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meredith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. It concludes our policy updates for this evening, cleaning up our policy book, so thank you.
Yep, and I'm here to do the resolution
Great.
as
You're
well.
going to do the resolution. Okay,
Yes,
great.
ma'am.
So we have a resolution, 1020, which is our WIA membership renewal.
Yeah, tonight on the agenda, you will see Resolution 1020 WIA membership renewal. This resolution is an annual resolution that you guys have just to incorporate your membership for Anacortes Middle School, Anacortes High School.
Great. Any questions on the WIA membership renewal? All right, so then I will take a motion to approve Resolution 1020.
I move to approve Resolution 1020.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meredith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, we are going to move into our consent agenda then, which includes policies that we looked at last month and a few other items. So any questions, any comments?
Yeah, I just want to point out, since it's now part of the public record, I want to take opportunity, especially since she's here, to publicly thank Ms. Dr. Dowd for your many years of service. We will do this over and over again throughout the rest of the year because you deserve it. But now that it is part of the public record, I just want to acknowledge your decision to retire and thank you very, very much. And that will be the first of many things we extend your way.
I will try not to cry as I vote on this consent agenda this evening. And I'll save that for what I'm sure will be a later celebration. All right, any other comments?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Meredith. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Heather. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Our board calendar, we have our site visit coming up on March 5th. It's going to be a very busy week with superintendent finalists in the district, but we will also be having our site visit at Anacortes Middle School, and then our regular study session and business meeting on March 19th. We will also have a site visit on April 2nd, right before spring break, to Cap Sandy High School, and our April 23rd study session and business meeting. Oh, and we do have an executive session, which is not on here, on Monday, which will be our interviews of our semifinalists, which will be a confidential interview process. So that will be an executive session. So we are going to take an adjournment I'm going to take an actual break right now because some of the board members have not had dinner yet. How much time?
15.
Okay, let's reconvene at 8:20. Okay, great. So we're going to adjourn until 8:20. We will start the executive session at 8:20 to review the performance of a public employee, the quality instruction and pillar evaluation, and then we will adjourn 30 minutes. 30 minutes. We will be in executive session for 30 minutes and adjourn then at 10 minutes to 9 at 8:50.